being alone, getting centered for the day, right? And then he'd have his work day, but then he was always very disciplined, saying, I don't care what is going on, with some possible exceptions of like gigantic crises, I'm going to go have dinner with my family at 6:30 every single night. And that's that time. And then after that, he would essentially then spend the rest of the night reading documents, going over papers. But he segmented his day in a way in which he always had time for himself, he always had time for his family, and then he figured out how to structure his day to get done what he needed to get done. He also, I think, always taught me the value, even though he was president of the United States, he would always be reading something, a novel, usually. It was interesting. He thought it was important that if his mind got stuck just in work, he would lose a certain perspective. So he was always trying to reach out to something that would make him think differently, or that would introduce him to a different culture, or way of looking at things. And that was important. He also had, and I'll use this to tell my failure story, he had a sense of humor that could get you through difficult things. The first time in the campaign we went to Germany, and he was going to speak to 250,000 people in the middle of Berlin. I was 31 years old and I was writing this speech. And this is the biggest stage I'd ever had anything to do. And we wrote the speech, and I tried to make this soaring speech in the tradition of great American rhetoric in Berlin. And I told the story about what became known as the candy bombers, which were American planes during the Cold War when Berlin was blockaded. They dropped food and candy to children. And it was this great moment that represented kind of an aspect of American power that wasn't just military, it was helping people, which is very much an Obama idea. And there was a woman, a German woman who I read about, who ran out in the middle of the street and looked up at the sky and declared, "We are a community of faith." And so her, the American pilots, and all the German people, and I love this phrase, community of faith. What a good idea. And if you're a speechwriter, you're constantly trying to think of what's a new way of saying something. So we had, yes, we can, and then we had, we are the ones who are waiting for, and I'm like, community of faith is the same idea, said in different words. And I like this so much that I made the whole big ending of the speech lead up to this. And then he was going to say the word in German for community of faith, just like John F. Kennedy said, "Ich bin ein Berlin." So the whole speech was going to build to this one moment. And Obama loved this, he thought it was great. A couple hours before the speech, I'm reading it. And I decided to Google this German word. And it comes up and does translate as community of faith. And I see a couple of Nazi references. So I call the translator, who's translating the speech into German. He's with one of our advanced staffers. And I asked the advanced staffer, "Hey, can you ask the translator, is there any problem with using this word?" And he says, "Oh my God, I'm so happy you asked this question. This word was the theme of Hitler's first speech to the Reichstag."
Oh my God!
So it's 2 hours before the speech, and I have to go upstairs and tell Barack Obama that actually that line he really likes is an echo of Adolf Hitler. So I go up there and I say, he's in workout clothes. He was a little nervous. He'd never spoken to a crowd that big. He's smoking in those days. And I say, "Hey, you know that big ending you like? Actually, the translator says that Hitler kind of used the same line." And he holds up his hand like this, like, "Just give me a minute." And I'm sitting there like a fire doesn't happen. And he just collapses in laughter. And he said, "Hitler? Really?" It's like, "Come on, man." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Obama echoes Hitler? That's not really the headline we're going for." But he laughed, right? He's like, just change the ending. He understood there was an absurdity to these things.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, as a leader, that gave me so much confidence that this guy wasn't going to shout at me, that this guy understood that people can make mistakes, and the important thing was actually that I caught it. And it made me willing to take chances. It made me less cautious. And ultimately, you can't write a good speech if you're always cautious. You can't try the cube opening if you're cautious. And so he had that ability to see the absurdity in some things, to laugh at things, as well as to take things deadly seriously. And, you know, sometimes he would say things that would cut through to the core. You know, the heart of one of these scandals that I was involved in, that I thought was totally unfair and I didn't understand it. I was at the peak of it. I was getting beat up on television crews were coming to my house. He calls me up to his office and he says, "Hey, I hear you're getting a little down about this whole thing." And I was like, "Yeah, I hate for you to think about it. You do it a lot worse than I do." And he goes, "Well, do you think you did anything wrong?" And I said, "No, I don't even understand." And he said, "Well, then don't worry about it." And then I realized something. This scandal had been going on for 2.5 years, and nobody had ever asked me whether I thought I did anything wrong. And that was how he lived his life. I can't control everything that people say about me. I can control what I do. And if I think I'm doing the right thing, then I can get up every day and keep working, right? And so all these different things kind of blended together in the person that he is, which is truly one of the most unique people I know. On children, Malia, I don't think would have wanted to work in government. I will say, I'll use the opportunity though to say that, well, no, would you want to add anything about it? No, you should.
Well, my failure story, which I will use as a way to illustrate that Ben Rhodes, who was my boss, has a good sense of humor. I don't know, you can weigh in on what Obama thought about it. So raise your hand if you know the great Nigerian author Chinua Achebe. Okay. Raise your hand if you know what year he died. Does anyone know what year he died?
2014.
He died in 2013. Okay.
2014. Oh.
So I woke up one morning and I was looking at the internet. When I was the spokesperson of the National Security Council, part of my job was to prepare all of the senior officials in the White House and across government agencies in the United States for answering questions, right? We have a free and open press and they ask questions, and we have a White House spokesperson who goes to the podium every day and answers questions. And it's my job to flag things for Ben and Susan Rice, the National Security Advisor at the time. And then some of these people would raise things up to the president to say, look what happened in the news, you should be aware of this story, how are we going to respond to it? And I woke up and I was looking online one morning and I saw that Chinua Achebe had died. And I thought, wow, this is like this giant literary, not just of African literature, but of global literature. He's such a treasure. The White House should speak about this. We should say something. So I had someone on my team who worked for me send a note to Susan Rice, the National Security Advisor, saying Chinua Achebe has died, and we think it's really important that you go out there and you say something to celebrate his life and commemorate his passing. And she says, I completely agree with you. So this guy that works for me tweets out this like very lovely sentiment from Susan. And then I send a note to Ben, and I'm like, Ben, Chinua Achebe died. He's like, this is terrible. I will tell the president when I see him in the presidential daily brief, which is like the briefing that you do every morning to talk about intelligence, all of the like really important things that the president has to deal with. But we thought that this was important enough. So Ben goes into the daily brief and lets the president know. And while we're in the daily brief, and after Susan Rice has already tweeted, someone who works in this area says, why is Susan Rice tweeting about Chinua Achebe? And I said, yeah, well, he died, and we feel like it's really important to say something. And they said, in 2013, and it's 2015. And it was this internet hoax, and I don't know if it like made its way to Africa, but for some reason, there was like this internet hoax that comes up every couple of years where people report that Chinua Achebe has died, and they look for really dumb people who are like, oh my God, Chinua Achebe has died! And in their dreams, they're like, maybe someday there will be a really dumb person in the White House who will get the National Security Advisor to tweet about it. That's me. And so I called up to the president's secretary and I was like, holy cow, but I didn't say cow. Holy cow! Where's Ben? And she was like, he's in the PDB. And I was like, you have got to bring in there. And she was like, unless this is like a war starting, I'm not bringing into this meeting. And I'm like sweating. Oh my God. So Ben comes down poor guy who had like gone to Susan Rice and said, you need to tweak this thing. And I said, I will take all of the heat, right? Because that's my responsibility. And Ben came down and he was like, you know, we should put something out on behalf of the president. And I was like, he's like, I thought you'd be really happy. And I was like, this is kind of funny. He's like, what's funny? I said, well, the like good news is, not the bad news, but like he is dead. So the kind of awkward part is he's been dead for like 3 years. And Ben just goes, totally. And he's not tan to begin with, so he's like, and he says, Bernadette, I went into the Oval Office of the United States of America and I told the President of the United States that Chumachere is dead. And then we have to write a statement. And I was like, well, I mean, he is dead. Fact, right? We do facts. And at the time, you know, we were in this crazy White House where you had to tell the truth, and if you made a mistake, you were honest about it. And so I had to send this note to Susan Rice, right, the National Security Advisor, and explain to her like what I had done wrong. And Ben just like goes into his office and shuts the door, and he's like, I'm gonna have to tell the president. And I was like, you should like make a joke about it. And the point is that I wanted to make is, and Sarah pointed this out earlier, is that not all failure, when I was listening to the stories earlier today, the point, you know, a lot of those stories were about how failure transformed people's lives, right? They made these life-changing decisions. Sometimes failure is transactional. Not all of it is seismic, not all of it is life-changing. Sometimes you wake up and you just like really F up, and it doesn't change your life, and like nobody dies, you don't, it's just stupid. And we all do it. And sometimes there is no lesson other than like, we all make mistakes. Sometimes they're just horrifically embarrassing. And the way that this ties into your question is, Ben, like President Obama, has the ability to laugh about things. As I said earlier, a good leader will always have your back. Even when you make a mistake, if the intent is right, if you know you're not a bad person, you simply make a mistake. But you also have to own up to your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And the worst thing I could have done was say to the guy who wrote to Susan Rice, like, you gotta tell her that I got died like 3 years ago. I had to send her that note, which was painful and awful and awkward, and I still to this day apologize to Ben, and people were hanging up posters in my office saying like, Chumachere is dead, did you know that? Like, hanging up posters of other people who have been dead for like 100 years. It was awful, and the president of the White House, like, it was horrible. But the twofold point is, President Obama, then, you know, people who are good, kind people, confident in themselves, when other people make mistakes, they, A, protect them in a certain way, like, he would never have thrown me under the bus, he had my back. I took responsibility and I cleaned up the mess and didn't put it on the person behind me. So we all fail. You have to laugh about it many years later because it's funny now, right?
Easy to do it. Well, and you know, I gave her a joke when she left to get married. I gave her Things Fall Apart by Chumachere. Sorry, I'm still dead. The important thing is for leadership. If you can forgive someone on your team for making a mistake, they will be much more loyal to you, rather than if you yell. That's it's so, and it doesn't, you know, like if you want to get that trust of your team, there's nothing that will make someone work harder for you than if you do that. The thing I wanted to say about children is the last thing I'd say is about President Obama's character. We were flying. This is about Leah and Sasha. We went to Hiroshima. That was a powerful experience I had in government. And you know, there you're standing at the center of just this destruction. And you're thinking about all the people who died that day, and you're thinking about nuclear weapons, and you're thinking about the nature of war and all these things. And we had a relatively silent helicopter ride back to Air Force One. And started to make some small talk, and I could tell his mind was kind of somewhere else for a little bit. And then he said, kind of out of nowhere, he said, you know, when I'm on my deathbed, the thing I'm going to be thinking of is not a speech I gave or a policy that I was responsible for. I'm going to be thinking about my kids. And it was such an interesting time for him to say that. But I think it does get that, you know, even when you're president of the United States, You're one of the most powerful men in the world. You're a human being. And you're rooted in a family. And then the family is rooted in a community. And the community is rooted in a country and society. And the country is rooted in the world. And he had that, personally, that sense of grounding that I thought was incredibly powerful, even when he was at the highest scale of power. We both know him. He has not changed. I knew him before he was president, while he was president, and after. And he's peculiarly exactly the same person. And I don't think that's true of most politicians, let's say.
Wow.
Thank you to Jeremy
Yeah,
for
that's great,
moderating.
great.
That's fantastic.
Well, I think the round of applause really is deserved by Bernadette and Ben, who have been fascinating this evening, who have indulged my very poor moderating skills, and who have shared with us some of their... But on a serious note, I think